So I've been reading the book, The Idaho 4 American Tragedy. That's what it looks like. And I got through chapters 1 through 10, and I'm going to review chapters 1 through 5 with you right now. So chapter 1 has the date of Moscow, Idaho, August 18th, 2019 at the top. And it begins talking about Kaylee and Maddie and how they were going to join Greek life. And that Kaylee and Maddie's top choice was Alpha Phi, or A Phi, as its acronym is. The sorority is known as one for blondes, for homecoming queens, for popular girls leaders, girls who like to party and get ready to party. Quote, that's a quote. It says some interesting things in this chapter, that Maddie recently heard that UI sororities like to separate girls who know each other well, meaning like her and Kaylee. And that's exactly what happens, because they choose Kaylee but they don't choose Maddie. And Maddie ends up in Pi Beta Phi, I think it's how you say it. And they say it's a perfectly respectable sorority, but not generally considered a top house on campus. And it says it's not good why, but for Maddie and Kaylee, it's an ending, and it's a beginning. But how is it an ending? They also talked about how Maddie, since she was 12, has come over to the Gonsalves' family home, and she just kind of walks in like she lives there, and she's more of a girly girl, an introvert, where Kaylee gets what she wants, is what they said. That she has 4 siblings, and she's an extrovert and a tomboy. And they did talk about their expensive trips that they've taken, like Lake Coeur d'Alene, Hot Springs, Seattle, Puerto Rico, Grand Cayman, and Hawaii. And I'm wondering, how are they affording this lavish lifestyle, right? We also know that they were wearing like really expensive shoes and different clothes, and then Kaylee got her car. These are all things that don't make sense for kids struggling in college and just starting out. Now, chapter 2 has at the top Moscow, Idaho, August 20th, 2019. They say that Maddie's a photographer and that she knows how to make her Instagram seductive, and that Maddie was really disappointed about not getting into AFI, so Kaylee was really supportive on her Instagram post, and it says that, of course, Kaylee knows how disappointed Maddie is, and she hurts because Maddie is hurting. Showing wisdom beyond their years, the friends accept the idea that widening their respective social circles will be good for both of them. In other words, they'll play the game of Greek life. And then they mentioned Maddie's sorority sister, Sophia Whitehead, and Ashlyn Couch as well, who's also from Coeur d'Alene. And then Kaylee's posts, showcase Jack Decor, her boyfriend. And it says what they don't post is pictures with each other. But why? And they finally end the chapter saying that March 2020, COVID strikes. Now, I can attest that sororities are really weird, because I had a friend in college that I met at orientation. She did the rush, I didn't. And then I later saw her at a coffee shop, and her sorority sisters gave me like a weird stare, like they didn't like the fact that she was talking to me. She even made the statement of like they think I don't have friends outside of the sorority. It's like I can only hang out with them. So they are really testy about outside people. Now, chapter 3 starts with Wrath Drum, Idaho, March 2020. And they say since the school was going remote that Maddie and Kaylee end up posting a picture together on Maddie's birthday, May 25th. That Maddie was really good at photography, and she ended up running the Instagram account for her sorority house. They did say something interesting about the Gonsalves children have been raised to not trust the government or institutions. So they were really like against COVID and just didn't think it was a big deal. And Kaylee was really upset that she wasn't going back to school and that everything was remote. Just thought that was an interesting statement, because that's probably being brought into with how Steve's acting and how he doesn't trust them initially, and then he trusts Bill Thompson, and now he's like really pissed off at Bill Thompson for the plea deal. They say Kaylee's dad, Steve, works at NIT at the hospital in Coeur d'Alene, and that he tells his family that only people who are dying in the hospital are those who have pre-existing conditions, and mostly that they're obese. Also, Kaylee said that she was livid that she and her AFI sisters were paying live-in dues for the house they're not allowed to occupy. That feels wrong. Like, they shouldn't have to pay for that if they weren't able to be in it. I'm not sure how legal that is, but I guess they might sign contracts. I'm not sure. People who have been in sororities tell me if that's normal or not. They state to her, none of the sisters can move out of the house until they're juniors and have accumulated a certain number of service points. Even then, the AFI admins add another hurdle to the sisters need to pay for both living in and living out. But why? They talk about Kaylee picking her two, but some littles, Emma Tiger and Jaden Anderson. That that she took a liking to them. They do say that one of the most important rituals among sorority sisters is choosing big and little. So it's interesting that they use the word ritual. So like when Kaylee finds out that they're going to keep them on lockdown in the school, she decides to take the girls to Coeur d'Alene, where she's from, and then go shopping and concerts, drinks, coffee. She takes them to get basket of goodies, etc. The girls were describing Kaylee as someone you just don't mess with, and more of a confronting personality, which I found interesting. They say nobody would ever say a bad word about me in front of her because she was not okay with it. If there was some guy being rude to me at a party, Kaylee was the first to say something to him. Could this have happened with Brian? And that's why he had something against Kaylee. It says that at this point, the two younger girls are still caught up in the excitement and honor of being accepted into AFI. They don't yet know about the pressure that comes with being in the pretty girl's house. Darker times are just around the corner. What are they referring to? Now we're on to chapter 4. It says Greek Row, Moscow, Idaho, September 2020. Now we're moving on to Xana. And she said her name is like Xanax without the X. And it was rumored that her mom, named her this because she was addicted to Xanax. I don't know how true that is, but that's where they say the name comes from. They also say that she's not afraid of anyone or anything, much like Kaylee, it sounds like, and that her mom gave up custody of her and her sister Jasmine in 2006 to her dad Jeff, but that he traveled frequently for work and that they were often left alone, and that Emily Alond, Hunter Johnson's girlfriend, was a fellow Pi Phi, and that they would regularly sneak out of the sorority house at night when they're told not to, and that one evening Maddie introduced Xana and Emily to a group of Sigma Chi brothers, and I'm pretty sure that's when she first met Ethan, but I think she already, and then they said to her, she's surprised and amused to discover that the two new girls had already met them on an illicit night out. So Xana had already met Ethan and the Sigma Chi boys early. It says, under the stress of COVID restrictions, Kaylee explains the bitchiness for which the house is infamous is coming to the fore. AFI is turning into a nightmare version of Mean Girls. And that's when the girls just start to discuss their options for living off campus together. Kaylee finds an apartment in the Whites, and Maddie's got her eye on a house right next to it, 1122 King Road, where some other Pi Phis, like Sophia Herbig and Ashlyn, her best friend, are planning to move. Chapter 5, Moscow, Idaho, Valentine's Day 2021. They start talking about Maddie's first date with Jake, and that it took a year to get to, that he'd been pursuing her for a while, and then when he actually has the date, forgets his wallet and makes Maddie pay for the date. The girls give her a bunch of crap for it and think it's really funny, and that he's a junior for the Tau Delta fraternity, and that Emily ended up posting a picture of Maddie and saying that she was all made up, and then ended up having to pay the bill in a Snapchat, which was kind of funny. And she titled it, "Didn't Even Pay for the Date." But soon after that Maddie commits to Jake, even though she was talking to other guys, and from then on, they're a thing. They said that Jake would soon be graduating and that he would be moving to Boise for a job. Maddie wants to move there too, get a summer job and be with him. Why? Because Jake, she has decided, is her future. But it was interesting that they're talking about how she was going to go with Jake and not Kaylee, when I thought they were going to kind of stay together. It was just bizarre. So that's the first 5 chapters. I will come back with the second 5 later today, or possibly tomorrow. But make sure you hit the like and follow button and comment below what you think so far.